Hello, hello. Back to the old pole shed here on the homestead. Um, yeah, I wish I could say I've gotten more done in the last few days, but it's been kind of slow. Um, Last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I was in here degreasing like crazy, and I was, for the most part, wearing gloves anytime I was doing that. But I was using that Purple Power degreaser. Really powerful stuff. This stuff here, right here. Yep. And I was using it undiluted as it was recommended for heavy degreasing, which I had a lot of heavy degreasing to do. And but there was one point where I took the gloves off, and then I got distracted, and then went back to cleaning parts. And I usually use Simple Green. I've used that in the past, and it's relatively mild on the skin. But I wanted to try something more aggressive because this engine had a lot of really greasy parts on it, and I didn't want to just go through tons and tons of Simple Green. Well, it did work. It did degrease my parts pretty good. After all, look at the engine. I mean, I didn't paint the block or the heads, but I did spray them down and rinse them, and they came out pretty darn clean, despite the fact that they were not scrubbed or anything like that. But that shit touched my skin for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes while I was washing some parts, and I didn't really think much of it. It did make my skin itch, and that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh shit, I'm not wearing gloves. And I've done that before with Simple Green without any issues, go in there and wash parts with your bare hands, rinse them off afterwards, and you're fine. Well, this stuff, not so much. It like irritated my skin. It didn't turn it red, or I didn't break out in a rash or anything like that, but it made my skin crazy soft, like insane soft. Like, like it was being eaten away by acid or something like that. So, the result is this. I have a cupped fingernail now, and that's probably a result of a combination of things. I dissolved my hands in acid. Well, why I didn't do it to my left hand, my fingers are fine on my left hand, but you can see my index finger on my right hand is totally fucked. It's cupped. It's cupped, and it's kind of uncomfortable. Yeah, peeling your fucking fingernail off backwards sucks. And then you've got this one is a little flat, thumb's a little flat with the ridges coming up on the sides there, which, I did a little bit of WebMD research, and generally speaking, that's an indication of like liver trauma, like your liver's like having problems, which would probably make sense considering I absorbed, I'd say, a quite large amount of petrochemicals through my skin via the degreaser, which was all emulsified and everything like that. Like, it's definitely not Simple Green. You definitely shouldn't touch it with your bare hands, like, at all, especially if it's undiluted. I mean, the little spray bottles that they sell for home use are probably diluted, but the industrial stuff is crazy. So, just a word to the wise, watch out. I have to go through, like, liver detoxification now to make sure that this doesn't turn into something all crazy. I gotta go and see my doc, get blood work taken, and all that good stuff. But, I still have to work because I got to pay for all that. So it's going to happen though. But I'm not too freaked out about it. It's been there for, well, since the day I did that. I literally woke up the next day and my fingernail was flat, and I was like, what the heck? That didn't feel right. And so it's just, it hasn't really gotten worse, but it hasn't really gotten better either. Actually, it has gotten slightly more cupped. And it's a really rigid nail, so I got some issues. But anyway, this is coming out a little bit better. I have been working on non-degreasing things lately, like wiring and painting. I'm installing some LED daytime running lights down on the lower clip here to complement the LED lights and the projectors here. And I think those will look cool. Right now I was doing some research trying to figure out where to splice in the power source, and I'm going to use the fuel pump wire post relay and tap into that with a tap splice, and that should run all 4 of the lights, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they won't be affected. Before I had them hooked up to my side markers thinking those didn't blink, but they're hooked up to the turn signals. So I had the LEDs like messing up my turn signals and all that stuff, so I had to disconnect it from that power source. But got the motor mounts in. I think we covered that last one. I'm pretty much ready to drop this engine back in. I did find a few issues in the truck. I'll just climb in here and show you. Careful not to step on suspension parts. Not that they can't take my weight, but you shouldn't step on them. Anyway, I was back in here doing some wiring stuff, and I discovered that I have 3 stripped wires here that, well, you can see that the loom has been long disintegrated, and they touched the engine block and the plastic melted. And it was all behind the back of the engine where I really couldn't see it. So I just discovered that as I was going through the wiring here, trying to figure out which wire. I believe it's this one, this gray wire. Oh crap, but it could be that gray wire. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to trace it from the fuel pump. If this is the fuel pump relay, we've got orange. I could just tap into the orange one too, because I don't really see any other options. There's this black, pink, and the green here. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. And then over here, this is the one that actually goes to the fuel pump. And so the only one that really matches is this green wire here. We've got a green wire here. Whoops. And we've got a green wire here, but this one is a green with white stripes, so it's not the same wire. So I still have some work to do to figure out which wire to tap into, but ideally I want to tap in after the relay as just kind of a indicator of if my fuel pump is having issues or not. I can quickly troubleshoot by checking my LED daytime running lights, which will be fused in parallel to that circuit. But anyway, moral of this story is personal protective equipment. Wear your frickin' gloves. So I did buy more of that stuff, obviously, because it worked so frickin' good, but I've got a little tank over there on my shelf that holds 3.5 gallons, and it recirculates it. And I've got a really gnarly pair of chemical gloves to wear while I'm degreasing parts, so I do not have this problem again, because it was not fun to discover that, and it's definitely not very comfortable, and I certainly hope I don't have liver failure or like some kind of crazy fucked up liver toxicity going on right now. So right now, doing a little liver detox. Gonna be eating vegan foods again and drinking tea, avoiding sugar and alcohol and chemicals like the ones behind me here, automotive chemicals. So I'll take every precaution possible that when I'm ever working the engine, even though most of it's clean, there's still a lot of grease to touch and rub on my hands, and it's not wise to touch that stuff if you're trying to detoxify your liver and your kidneys. So what am I going to do about it? I'm going to start with a probably some tea. Like today, I've actually already started by my vegan shake, which had a ton of MSM. I always get that confused with MSG, which is bad. MSM, which is a type of sulfur, and it helps fingernails, healthy fingernail, hair, and joints. So I'm going to start upping on that supplement. I bought some more today at the health food store. And as well, I've been applying aloe vera gel to the fingernail to just kind of nurture it. And I've also got some aloe vera juice that I'm going to be drinking over the next several days. I'm going to be juicing, probably doing a lot of green juices like with cilantro, and probably even some cannabis. Who knows if I can get some leaves. I heard those are really good to juice. The CBDs and whatnot are really good for you. And that's where I'm going to kind of start, is just drinking tea, tons of water, of course. I've already drank a gallon of water today. I need to drink another one before the day's out. And just keep going. And obviously go to the doc. I got to make an appointment with my doc and get in there and order some blood work. It's been a while anyway. Probably over, it's been probably a year and a half since I ordered some blood work. And so I'm going to do that and kind of see where I'm at. But in the meantime, I'm going to assume that my liver is pretty much fucked. And I gave it a good dose of chemicals right now. Plus I like to drink beer, which doesn't help. So no more beer, just going to drink tea tonight, and just water, and just try to eliminate this shit that caused this right here. Now this might be local, maybe, but I've never seen anything like it. And anybody that has had it, usually you have it on all of your 10 fingers, like uniform, and that's an indication of like liver disease or whatever. Or not necessarily like liver disease, but like iron deficiency. But I assure you, I don't have iron deficiency unless I'm like unable to like absorb iron, because I cook with cast iron. I eat meat, lots of beef. So I'm pretty sure I'm getting plenty of iron in my diet, but only the blood work will show. Or the opposite is true. There's like some kind of weird condition where you can like, your liver like takes too much iron out of the food that you eat, and you end up with too much iron, which causes the same condition. Which begs the question, aren't I just eating too much iron? Maybe I'm just eating too much damn iron, and like then all the petrochemical shit that came into my body was like a trigger of some kind, But so no more cast iron cooking. Switched over to stainless steel. That's all I have. I don't have any Teflon pans or anything like that. And but it doesn't really matter, because I'm not really going to be eating many. I'll finish off the eggs and the cheese I just bought. I don't have any meat anymore. I ate the last of my grass-fed beef last night. And so today has been vegetarian, but mostly plant-based. I've only had some cheese. That's the only non-vegan food I've had today. And I guess I'm going to just go vegan for a little while until I get better. Not because of the ideology, but because it genuinely benefits my health when I do so. So it actually just kind of forces me to pay more attention to what the hell I'm eating. When you're a meat eater, it's just easy to forget and just eat, because you're so used to just meat and kind of providing the basics, But if you're a vegan, then you kind of have to pay attention. So I'll be paying attention, being mindful of all of this. So keep you guys posted on the progress here and also here. I mean, I don't know what the hell, dude. I feel totally fine. It didn't make me sick. I didn't get a headache. I don't have any kind of bloating going on. My liver doesn't hurt or anything. Like, nothing hurts. I'm not in any kind of pain. It's just this weird fucking deformity. But it's possible that I just dissolved my finger in fucking acid for 20 minutes, and that was the fucking result. But I don't know why it only did it to this one. Maybe because while I was degreasing, I was also removing gaskets at the same time with a razor blade. So I was in there just kind of picking at it and pushing on this. Like, you can almost kind of see how I kind of did that just with the motion of my fingers pressing against the tip of a razor blade to scrape gaskets. So that's definitely an investment I need to make, is a razor blade holder for scraping gaskets. I don't have one. I was just holding the stupid razor. So yeah. Okay. Well, I'm doing some calm work to kind of chill out a little bit here. And I finally got the wiring harness all buttoned up. It looks so much better with new wire loom on it. There was actually a couple wires that I think I showed you that were fried there. And those got fixed. They're all protected now from the heat. And I think I'm just about ready to drop this engine in. There's just a couple things I need to do to the engine itself. That being put the flex plate on. And after that, actually right now, I'm going to change the oil filter. Because what better time to access the old oil filter and put a new one on there than now. I'm not going to pour any oil into the pan just yet because there's a good chance it'll just spill out as I'm trying to finagle this thing back into the truck. Another thing I'm thinking about doing is running 530 in this engine. As you can see, that was what was recommended in the 91 engines, but this thing's got 186,000 miles, and I'm just thinking, I mean, I've been running 1030 in it, and I run 1040 in my Dodge because it's, you know, it's got even bigger clearances. But Rotella makes this gas truck oil now, and I almost bought some today because I need to change the oil in my Dodge too, but I didn't want to put it in there because the heaviest oil that they sell is 530, which I think is too light for my Dodge. The Dodge needs at least 1030, but it should be running 1040 in the summer, which it is. And it's doing just fine. So I'm going to continue to run 1040 with Lucas oil because that engine is so worn out. And that helps keep my oil pressure in a reasonable position. If I run 530 or just straight 1030, it tends to get pretty low on the gauge there, so that concerns me. That tells me that the engine's just got excessive bearing clearances and you got to have a little thicker oil in it, that's all. But this one here I think will run just fine with 5W30, so I think I'm going to try the Rotella 530 truck oil in this engine. But I needed to get a filter today, so I went ahead and got the filter and some 1040 Castrol high mileage oil for my Dodge, and then I'll just go back and get a filter for my Dodge, and I'll get the truck oil for this engine. That way I still get a discount with the oil filter deal from Advanced Auto. So I'm going to go ahead and change this out, and I'll probably go ahead and lift this engine up then and disconnect the engine stand so I can get the flex plate back on there, and then we'll be in business. So I thought I'd note one thing. One thing I am going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and fill the oil filter up with a bunch of oil. And that's because when I go to start this thing up for the first time, I'm actually going to need to disconnect the fuel injectors or unplug the fuel pump relay, because I won't want to start it. I'll want to let the engine crank over several times and build up oil pressure without it actually starting. And the reason is because I took everything off. The cooler, emptied it out, emptied everything out. The block has been turned and twisted, and it's just dumped oil all over the place. So it's actually going to probably take like close to 6 quarts to do this oil change, because I'm going to have to run all the air out of the oil cooler lines and through the oil cooler itself, because it's been kind of purged, and like most of the old oil is gone, so it's going to be like 95% brand new oil. And I'm going to start with this right here. Like anytime you change your oil filter, you should fill this up if you can and hook it up full, because it's like, you know, that's where the engine's going to receive its oil from first, is from this filter. So as soon as you crank that engine, it's going to suck it right out of here, and it's going to go through all the oil galleys. Galleys. I don't know, I call them galleys. Yeah. Tripped out on that for a second. Anyway, yeah, the oil galleys get all the oil after that. That's what I was trying to say. Whatever. Anyway. So, I just want to make that note. Well, a whole lot of good that did. So much for filling up the oil filter with oil. I forgot I have to have the coolant lines connected or they just drain right out. So, oh well. Like I was saying, I'll just have to crank the engine without the fuel for like, 15, 20, 30 seconds. At least until I can see oil pressure building up. And then I'll stop it, reconnect everything, and fire it. Other than that, this thing's pretty much ready to drop in. I'm ready to put it in now. So I'm just going to let that dribble out there and do whatever else I got to do to prepare it. Set up the chain hoist so I can lift it up off here. And then I'll set it down while I do the flywheel. I'll set it down on a tire right down there, that tire. And then we'll get this thing dropped in. Probably not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. So we're getting there. Just a couple more weeks and I should have this thing fired up. Yep. That's the hope anyway. So, anyway. Yeah. The dogs are barking at a deer. Who is that? Huh? Who do you see there? Oh yes, there's a deer over there. Way in the distance. You can tell he's totally scared of you. Silly dogs. Yes, no jumping. Crazy dogs. Alright guys, that's enough for me tonight. I gotta tighten up that flex plate on the engine, but I need a person to help hold the engine still, otherwise I turn the damn thing backwards trying to torque it down. So I guess I'll work on that another time. So y'all have a good night. Peace.